guys are up to a lot of new things, and I see something that you're calling fast data. Fast data platform.
That's right.
Can you unpack that a little bit and tell us what that is?
Yeah, it kind of reflects a convergence of trends we've observed. Traditionally, Lightbend has been focused on microservices, kind of anything from e-commerce sites to whatever it is you're building that needs to be much more scalable, resilient, durable, all the usual things people worry about today. And then there was like this big data world where people were a little bit more oriented towards like data warehousing, batch jobs, just get the data, do something with it later. But then they realized, you know what, we really ought to be stream processing this data so we get answers faster, use our infrastructure more effectively rather than have these big bursts of activity. And that kind of pushed them more to be more like microservice systems, because now they have to meet the same kind of requirements for, I'm going to run this thing for months, let's say. I'm going to hit every possible problem, so how do I build durability, resiliency, all the things that these microservice guys have been doing. So we built this fast data platform to kind of bridge those two and bring them together. Our expertise in kind of the microservice side, our expertise in the data side, from people like me, and for people trying to do more stream processing but still integrate it with all of their microservice activity. Just to give you an example of what we're seeing a lot is, I might be doing the traditional e-commerce stuff, but now I want to bring in machine learning recommendations. Like here's your, shopping cart. Oh, you might want to buy this kind of stuff that we all see when we shop online. So a lot of what the fast data platform is trying to do is to bridge those two. So what it is essentially a curated distribution of open source tools surrounded with commercial packaging so that you can get all the production abilities that you need, including monitoring and all that kind of stuff. But that's the goal, is to address that kind of convergence of architectures.
Is that cloud-based, or is it hybrid, or is it on-prem, or is it
It can be all of that. It can be all of the above, because what we actually sell is this platform that you deploy where you want. It's basically running on DCOS, the commercial distribution of Mesos from Mesosphere. So you can deploy it in the cloud, on-premise, transparently across boundaries in some cases. So yeah, the reality is everyone wants to be on the cloud, but in reality people are mostly still running in their own data centers and are being very deliberate about those migrations, so we're trying to bridge the gap for both of them.
So in this platform then, it has scalability, it has security, it has all of those things that someone would want for an enterprise built in? That's
the intent, yeah, and it's sort of representative of the way things work today, where we just bring a lot of tools together from different sources, and either you do it yourself as far as integrating them and figuring out which ones actually make sense, or you come to somebody like us who's kind of done that homework, give you an integrated package, a suite of recommended options to use. Like we have like 4 streaming engines, for example, to cover the spectrum of what you might need. But if you need to add other things that we don't provide, like I want to run Cassandra, or I want to run Elasticsearch, or those things, they all just run nicely on the platform, so you can basically have an ecosystem that a starting point, and then you can bring in what additional stuff you need.
And is streaming considered real time? Are we getting answers in the moment?
Yeah, that's the funny thing. And so the word real time is heavily overused. We're not doing like flight telemetry. We're not trying to land rockets on barges necessarily.
Or have them re-land.
Yeah, exactly. But again, there is actually a spectrum there where some people do want to have things happen in the millisecond to tens to hundreds of milliseconds, and other people, for them, real time or fast enough is really a few minutes, rather than wait a few hours. If I can get the answer in 5 minutes, that's okay.
So streaming is fungible enough to where it can accommodate hard real time versus good enough?
I think so, yeah. So in some cases you'll even see systems, like a lot of financial companies and real estate and so forth, they still work in the world of FTPing files around. So you might have a stream that's just sitting there waiting for a file to show up in an FTP server, and then you just run it through the pipe. But at least you've done it as soon as possible, even though you might be waiting for that file to show up.
So what are you guys also offering as far as tools? I notice your tools here. So reactive is something still big for you guys?
Yeah, so we help spearhead this sort of industry initiative called Reactive Manifesto, which is sort of inspired by the Agile Manifesto. It wasn't trying to be too prescriptive, just to lay out some hallmarks of what these systems need to be in order to meet the kind of requirements people have, always on in some sense. So we call our platform of microservice tools the Reactive Platform, implemented around those criteria and designed to help people achieve them in their own development without having to reinvent the wheel. And those products include, Logem is our microservice framework. I'll just hold this sticker up here. Logem. It's our opinionated microservice framework, and it's built on top of our Play web framework and our Akka middleware framework, which are really flexible, highly capable tools, but they kind of assume you know what to do with them, whereas Logem tries to give you guidance about, you really ought to do it this way rather than that way, kind of opinionate. Yeah, opinionated, exactly. And then we've been supporting Scala from the beginning as well, as one option for a programming language, but you can certainly use any JVM language.
So what do you see on the future for Lightbend in 6 to 12 months? What's big coming down the road that you're trying to tackle now?
Yeah, there's a couple of trends that I really watch carefully. One is that people are responding to our initiatives that helping them do better data processing in a streaming context, because they know they need to do that. It's a competitive advantage. But they also know that they need to make that, if they're getting this timely information more timely than they were in the past, they really want it integrated with the rest of their infrastructure so they can leverage that data. So they're finding it appealing that they can get kind of converged expertise from us to bridge that gap between their data processing and the rest of their services. So what we're finding is a lot of that is just kind of driving our growth, driving our attention, and we're starting to think about some specific use cases a little bit more carefully, like serving machine learning models, like this book here. Thinking about some of the specific problems people are running into in particular vertical industries, like GDPR and finance. Actually, most companies are affected by these new European privacy regulations, and in general, helping companies figure out how do I apply this technology to the particular problem domain I have, whether it's finance or IoT or any of these things. So that's kind of what's driving our attention right now.
Excellent. Do you look forward to that in the future?
Hey, it's great talking to you as always, Mike. Yeah.